Sore, kurang semangat ini. Selamat sore, selamat siang, siang dulu apa sore ya? Siang ya, masih siang, nggak boleh sore. Dosen UAD tidak mengenal sore karena harinya siang terus gitu. Pagi terus. Nggih. Monggo Bapak Ibu sekalian sambil menantikan Bu Maria dan juga Pak Alex bersiap-siap, nggih. Monggo meneruskan dahar siangnya. Kemudian unjukannya juga. Di sini saya tidak bisa pesan teh dan juga kopi karena memang nggak disediakan, gitu. Ya mungkin di lain kesempatan insya Allah, Welcome back Pak Kevin. Ya, baik. Mbak Nanda kira-kira masih harus menunggu lagi atau mboten? Sudah saya mulai boleh nggih? Iya. Saya ingin mengundang dulu mungkin Bapak Ibu yang masih di luar. Oke. Bapak Ibu, monggo, ladies and gentlemen, as we are about to begin, please be seated. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rifki Dorawijayati today. Here I am Kiki standing here as the MC for today's forum. I'm truly delighted to witness the bright smiles of my colleagues, and alhamdulillah, we are all in a good condition. Amin, amin. We would like to share our gratitude to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and also welcoming our distinguished guests, Bapak Alexander Masardo PhD, Ibu Maria Meredith MS CMA, and also their lovely spouse, Bapak Kevin and also Ibu Hillary. Welcome to Universitas Ahmad. We believe that the journey to success is paved with hard work and also unwavering dedication and the determination to give our best effort, regardless of the outcome. And in the spirit of the commitment, we gather today to explore the theme, Decolonizing Curriculum in the Educator Forum Series number 8. And before we proceed to the main events, let us begin this afternoon session by reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and inshallah with Allah's blessing, we hope to gain beneficial knowledge that we can apply, bringing goodness and also blessings to all of us. Amin. In this Educator Forum, at first, I would like to invite the Vice Dean of Al-Islam and Kemuhammadiyahan, Academics and Students Affairs of Teacher Training and Education of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, Yogyakarta, Profesor Dr. Suyatno MPDI. The floor is yours. Please give a round of applause to our professor.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nusallimu ala rasul karim wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajmain wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yaumiddin. The Honorable Pak Alex dan Ibu Maria, Bapak Ibu dosen dan juga mahasiswa dari berbagai prodi di Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan. Saya pakai bahasa Bantul saja ya, daripada nanti Bu Kiki juga bingung ya. Iya. Oke. Ya. Tadi Pak Alex sama Bu Maria juga sudah menyapa selamat pagi, selamat siang, begitu ya. Sudah pintar bahasa Indonesia. Bapak Ibu sekalian, alhamdulillah, puji syukur kita aturkan kepada Allah bahwa pada siang hari ini kita bisa mengadakan forum yang sangat luar biasa. Meskipun dari segi jumlah peserta tidak terlalu banyak ya, hanya mungkin 20 sampai 30-an dosen ditambah dengan beberapa mahasiswa. Tetapi topik diskusi kita pada siang hari ini Decolonizing curriculum ya, from perspective United Kingdom ya, Pak Alex dan Ibu Maria. Kalau di Indonesia kita itu sedang mempraktekkan namanya independent curriculum, sir. Kurikulum merdeka, ya, kurikulum merdeka. Ini kan semoga nanti arahnya ke sana. Saya juga mendengar Pak Alex dan Bu Maria juga mungkin sudah cukup mengikuti perkembangan kurikulum yang ada di Indonesia seperti apa. Kalau kita namanya independent kurikulum ya. Kalau diterjemahkan benar independent kurikulum ya. Kurikulum merdeka. Ya, freedom, sorry kalau independent, freedom kurikulum ya. Iya, freedom kurikulum. Tetapi selama ini yang kita dengar dari para praktisi pendidikan, Bapak Ibu guru terutama ya, para educators di sekolah, meskipun judulnya freedom curriculum tetapi tidak free juga ya. Ya, all educators free burdened about the freedom curriculum in Indonesia, Sir and Mrs. ya. Nah, mungkin beliau-beliau nanti akan menyampaikan terkait dengan decolonizing kurikulum dari perspektif UK yang kulturnya tentu berbeda dengan kita, agak berbeda, tetapi setidaknya bisa memberikan perspektif baru nggih Bapak Ibu. Kalau di kampus kurikulum merdeka itu kan selama ini juga apa ya, baru yang kita praktekkan sebatas misalnya apa itu, mengambil perkuliahan di lintas prodi, lintas perguruan tinggi, ataupun juga program-program kampus mengajar dan seterusnya. Tetapi kalau Bapak Ibu guru di sekolah itu beda sekali ya, penerapan freedom kurikulumnya. Tetapi yang kita dengar ternyata kurikulum yang harusnya memerdekakan itu juga tidak sepenuhnya memerdekakan ya, membuat guru-guru juga sangat terbebani. Nah, semoga kehadiran Pak Alex dan juga Ibu Maria bersama tim, thank you for your coming at the Educator Forum, Sir dan Ibu Maria. This discussion is a routine agenda managed by the curriculum and instruction team. Tepuk tangan untuk tim CIS dan kawan-kawan ya. By inviting lecturers in various FKIP studi program, harapannya nanti Bapak Ibu sekalian mendapat pencerahan ya, enlightenment dari Pak Alex dan juga Ibu Maria. Kami mewakili Pak Dekan mengucapkan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya kepada Bapak Ibu yang telah berkenan untuk menyiapkan acara ini sebaik-baiknya, dan tentu juga Bapak Ibu yang berkenan untuk hadir membersamai kita semua sebagai partisipan. Semoga setelah acara ini kita sekali lagi banyak mendapatkan pencerahan. Demikian sambutan sedikit dari saya. Terima kasih. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Bapak Wakil Dekan AIK dan akademik dan juga kemahasiswaan. Betul ya Bapak nggih? AIK, Academics and Student Affairs. Banyak sekali yang harus diselesaikan beliau. Mari kita beri tepuk tangan pada beliau. Sehat selalu. Dan juga di sini sebenarnya terus terang nggih Bapak Ibu, saya gemeteran di sini karena MC yang seharusnya berada di sini beliau tidak dapat hadir. Jadi ini terpaksa hari ini palu gada gitu. Lu mau apa gue ada gitu. Iya, untuk FKIP UAD tuh apa sih yang enggak gitu nggih. Iya. Tolong satu kali ini saja nggih Pak. Terus terang deg-degan saya di sini. Gitu. Baik, so Pak Alex and also Bu Maria, I would like to give a small resume from our Vice Dean's messages that now the independent curriculum, or everybody calls it as the freedom curriculum, not as freedom as we want, not as freedom as we are expected. Well, somehow in university level, in the actual practice, such the students in our university and also other universities around Indonesia, the students perhaps taking courses from other departments. So say for example, our students from English education program, they take another courses from the economic program. However, they don't know sometimes the purpose why I have to take the credits from other departments. Yeah, that's part of the challenges for the universities in our country. And also at school level, the teachers have to finish many administration or administrative tasks. And also perhaps they lost somewhere because they don't have any guidance yet from the trainers, even from the government. So, well, actually what we need is what should we do to get solutions in regards to dealing with the curriculum. And part of it, we are hoping that the theme of the day, the decolonizing curriculum, will be able to give us insight from UK, of course, and also give us solution, give us a way, way out for all of us here. So that's the message from our Vice Dean. Yeah, it's going to be a hard work for both of you. Okay. Oh yeah, I think we have to take the mandatory pictures first before all of us have another agenda. It's quite it's uncommon for now. Ya, boleh Bapak Ibu mari kita ambil foto sebentar karena Bapak Ibu di sini juga sangat sibuk sekali gitu. 3S. Bapak Ibu yang sangat sibuk sekali gitu. Oke, monggo Bapak Ibu. Mungkin Mas ini suruh maju semua. Duduk aja. Pematerinya duduk di depan. Ini sudah. Oh, kemudian Pak Alex dan Bu Maria tetap di depan atau pindah ke belakang? Mbak Nanda minta tolong ya, hari ini saya tidak di-hire untuk jadi koreografer soalnya. Oh ya. Oke. Oh nggih. So Pak Alex and also Bu Maria, we would like to invite you come here and all of us will stand and our beloved photographer will take the pictures. Yeah. Pak Alex, don't worry, we will send you the best one. Okay. Bu Hillary, please kindly stand up. Keep your mobile phone. We're going to send you the best pictures. Okay. Pak Kevin, yes. Oh, baik. Oke. Ini ada maminya nih. Datang sini, Mami Ega. Iya. Yang mungkin merasa tinggi badannya tidak segede saya, boleh merapat ke tengah, monggo ibu-ibu, bapak-bapak. Ya, monggo, segera mawon. Ayo bapak-bapak merapat ke tengah, mari. Ya, saya hitung nggih. Monggo, ayo bapak ibu sekalian semuanya. Bu Maria, please. Oops, careful. Ya, Pak Bud, Pak. Pak Budairi. Laki-laki di sana Bapak, iya. Pak Kevin, yes. Mas sudah kelihatan belum? Perlu naik kursi mboten? Iya. Perlu ambil video enggak nanti? Perlu ambil video enggak? Hanya foto saja. Fotonya dengan gaya atau tanpa gaya? Gayanya gimana? Begini, tangguh, siap, atau wush? Oh, 3 gaya. Oke, baik Bapak Ibu sekalian, pose pernikahan berapa tahun yang lalu, nggih? Baik, pose foto keluarga. Ya, saya hitung ya Mas ya. Baik Bapak Ibu sekalian, pose foto keluarga, siap nggih? 1, 2, 3. Ya, yang kedua silahkan pose tangguh. Wah, Pak Alex, automatically. Very good Pak Alex, thank you. Tangguh Pak Alex. Ya, yuk 1, 2, 3. Ya, gaya yang ketiga adalah wush. Another, oh, oke Pak Alex, you got like 200,000 ya. Oh, Pak Kevin. Yes, oke, good. Anda dinotif Mbak, habis ini. Oh yes, another pose. Ya, siap ya. 1 Bapak Ibu, masih satu. Senyumnya, 1, 2. Thank you very much, tepuk tangan semuanya. Thank you. Okay, Pak Kevin, next time if you make another film, don't forget to hire all of us to be as the cameo, okay? Yeah. And also, we can talk about it later, ya. Baik. Masih ada request lagi Mbak Nanda? Sudah, bisa dimulai. Dari tadi belum mulai sepertinya, nggih. Baik. Ya. Okay, once again thank you very much for Professor Dr. Suyatno MPDI for your support of this event. We hope that the aspirations that you have shared can be achieved together. Amin. And now without further ado, let's us move to the main agenda. I would like to invite our beloved keynote speakers, Pak Alex Masardo PhD, and also Ibu Maria Meredith MA. Terlalu bersemangat ya. Ini saya sebenarnya blockingnya harus kemana sih Mas? Bingung saya. Okay, and also I would like to invite our beloved moderator, Bapak Irfan Yunianto SSI MSc PhD. Yeah. So please note that this forum will take for about 1.5 hours, and this forum will be ended maybe around at 2:30 or 3 p.m. and will be continued by farewell. Thank you very much. I will hand on the microphone to Pak Irfan. The floor is yours. Please give big applause to our keynote speaker and also our moderator.
Thank you very much, Bu Kiki. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good afternoon to you all. It is our privilege for us to have our distinguished speakers here. I don't think Pak Alex and Bu Maria needs more introduction because they have been here with us in the last 1 month, 4 weeks, right? Yeah, so I guess this will be the last agenda with our faculty. So I would start with the pantun, yeah? Well, it's still hot, well, it's still warm here, but unfortunately I cannot translate it in English, so yeah, handsome. Yeah. If it is in English, then you should say handsome. Ke Mataram beli duren. Beli tempe buat makan nasi. Educator Forum memanglah keren. FKIP UAD tetap di hati. Alright. So Pak Alex and Bu Maria, thank you very much for attending our invitation. And I think the Educator Forum, if you see there, number 8, so it's a regular program that we have, and we normally invited all the lecturers, and they can also join us online. And today it is a very good chance for us to talk about the topic decolonizing curriculum. I think some of you might have heard about this, but I believe most of you have heard about this now. So what is it actually, the decolonizing curriculum? And then why is it relevant to our educational system? And what might the impact be for us? So everything about this topic will be revealed, will be discussed by our speakers, Pak Alex. So in the next 30 minutes, maybe, Pak Alex, and then followed by Bu Maria, and then we will have discussion afterwards. So without further ado, Pak Alex, time is yours. Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih. Dan selamat siang dan terima kasih atas sambutan hangatnya. Okay. So, decolonizing curriculum. So when I think it was Sophie who asked me to do this session on decolonizing, myself and Maria to do this, or maybe it was Pak Irfan. I thought, oh, sorry, is that a bit, maybe it's a bit, is that better like this? Is that better? Yeah. So I realized, I am a white, male, middle-class, Western man at Universitas Ahmad, Dahlan, talking to you about decolonizing. So I don't, there is a sort of a paradox here that we need to be mindful of. I'm certainly mindful of that. What I can offer, though, is for us to think about what we are doing back home in the UK at University of Gloucestershire. Oh, sorry, could you go back to the first slide, please? The key thing is I'm not here to tell you how to do it, because we can talk about it, we can discuss, but please do not think that Maria and I have all the answers to help you decolonize your curriculum, because if we did that, all we would be doing is perpetuating another form of colonial thinking. What we want to do is work with you so that we can learn from you as much as you can learn from us in, for example, the research that we're undertaking, in the teaching that we're undertaking. Hillary's telling me to move my mic away from my mouth. I hope you can still hear me. So this is something that we can do together, and we need your help, so I hope we can learn from each other. And if this forum is an opportunity to open a discussion around decolonizing curriculum, then that's great. We'll make a start. So we've given so many talks over the last month. We haven't prepared a lot. A lot of them we've had to prepare very last minute. And so last night I was thinking, okay, what will I be talking about tomorrow in this session? And I spent the evening with Pak Yudi and Pak Yudi students. Could I have the first slide, please? So I spent yesterday evening up here on the 10th floor outside with the telescope. If you hold it there. So Pak Yudi and I were talking, and I was talking to his students, and Pak Yudi was showing me, through the telescope, I could see Scorpius. And the students were explaining that Antares is the brightest star in the southern hemisphere. And it put me in mind of the polar star that I can see regularly from my home in the UK. And I mean, that's a wonderful, it's a wonderful picture of Scorpius, because it's now full. In July, over Yogyakarta, you can see the whole thing. Whereas in the UK, from my home, you can only see the top. You can only see the top of Scorpio. You can only see it partially. So I think what I discussed with Pak Yudi yesterday and his students was just the importance of how we will inevitably perceive things differently from different vantage points, from different places. So what I can see from the UK is going to be different from what the lens through which you view something. Even the names of the constellations are different. So we might call them one thing, you might call them another, they might call something else somewhere else. I think we said the constellations are the same. Wherever you go, the constellations are the same, but we all see different parts of them. And so that put me in mind of a way to begin this session, just to remind ourselves that we are all working with different knowledges. If I could have the next slide, please. And we have different ways of seeing the world. So the same constellations, but seen and understood differently. So yeah, if I could have the next slide. So, do you all recognize this? Is this, what is this? Somebody? Is a map of the world, okay. And is this the map of the world that you work with on a regular basis? No. Okay, good. So, could I have the next slide, please? This one? Does anybody work with this one? But do you recognize this? Yeah. So what happens if we put Indonesia right at the center of the map? We can see the world in a completely different way. Indonesia at the center, the other continents at the bottom, building a base, a nice sort of pyramid. But we can see the world in a completely different way. And I think that's what we have to do when we are thinking about the curricula, because education and our education systems have arguably been handed down to us through legacies of colonialism, that even though there has been a long gap for Indonesia since 1945, still there are the remnants of those systems that we are still trying to break free of. So next slide, please. So, just a recap, colonialism. I don't want to stand here and tell you what colonialism is, because you have lived it, experienced it. But these are just some definitions, just to remind ourselves. The policy or practice of acquiring full or partial political control over another country, occupying it with settlers and exploiting it economically. It occurs when one nation subjugates another, conquering its population and exploiting it, whether that be land and resources, often forcing its own language and cultural values on its people. So it's a sensitive topic, because there aren't many nations in the world that haven't had some form of colonization. But it's not something that we need to shy away from, and also maybe not something that I don't. Of course, in Indonesia, I know you're coming up to the 79th year of independence, but really, 79 years is a blink of an eye. It happens so quickly. How many generations since 1945? Not many. And so what you do now, you have a population of 270 million. You have nearly half of that under 30 years of old. 45%, I believe, is under the age of 30. So the way that the freedom curriculum, what you do with that opportunity is crucial. It's not a side issue. This needs to be absolutely at the core of everything that is done over the next 4, 8, 12 years. And decolonizing, just thinking about different knowledges and which knowledges should be included within your curriculum is going to be absolutely crucial. Next slide, please. So decolonizing the curriculum. We could say it's a form of identifying, acknowledging, and also challenging the ways in which colonialism has impacted on perceived knowledge and learning. I do want to make a distinction, though, before I go on, that decolonization isn't diversification. Those are two different things. So that's important, an important thing to make clear at the start. Decolonization entails dismantling colonial forms of educational practice and knowledge. Diversity, rather, is often adding resources and examples to ensure teaching materials better reflect the staff and student body. So in the UK at UOG, we are starting to do a lot of this, but we're not doing yet enough of this. So if you're hoping to get all the answers today from myself and Maria, you'll be disappointed, because we're also at the start of a journey. So we're at the start of a very long journey. For me, on a personal level, I've started that journey with colleagues like Buega, Buintan, and our students have been working together in virtual spaces. For me, that has been the most powerful way to decolonize the curriculum, both, I hope, for you here at UAD, but also for us at UOG, because it's helped us students working together with your students, has helped us to start thinking what that actually means, what those different knowledges and the sharing of those knowledges, because it's our students know who they are and where they're from, and we don't need to tell them, we need to help them and nurture their spirits and their knowledge and so on. So next slide, please. So there are 5 key areas that you may want to focus on when, and maybe in our discussions we can talk to some of these. But in terms of education, there are persistent inequalities that do remain as legacies of colonial experience. But education, I do believe that education, and I'm sure that you all do as well, has the potential to be a transformative space for not just individuals, but societies in general. So these are the 5 areas that I want us to think about, and maybe in the discussion come back to. If we're thinking about decolonizing, we can through teaching, also through research. So Maria and I are setting, we're already undertaking research with several colleagues here at UAD. So we need to be thinking not just about the research, but how we conduct it. So this isn't just about conducting research. We don't want to come here and mine data from Indonesia in the same way that raw materials might have been done in the past, through data collection, and then take it back home and do our analysis. What we want to do is work with our Indonesian colleagues so that we are doing that process of analysis together, and we're trying to make sense of that data together. So you can see how we can start to think about decolonizing in research terms. Institutions, estates, and reparations. So I'll also talk very briefly about each of those. So how do we address these? This is something that I'm hoping we can talk about in the discussion. So do remember those 5 areas. or 5 spheres. Could I have the next slide, please? So, colonialism and education. Well, they are intimately linked because we all use the education systems of the past, and they take, it's like a tanker. I don't know if you know a tanker, like an oil tanker on the ocean. You try turning one of those around quickly. It doesn't turn around quickly. It takes time. But these things, the education systems have been used in the past to control colonies. So it's important for us to think about what underpins some of the theories that we're using, our pedagogies. Children in the global south, I believe, are often taught about the history of the global north. And often, when you assess the students, you're assessing often to standards that are northern standards. And I say standards, but I say so-called standards. But children in the north are not systematically taught about the global south or assessed against those different knowledge systems. So there's something very interesting going on there that we do need to reflect on. So the content and practices of education can colonize minds. So this is something that we need to be aware of as you are thinking through the freedom curriculum and what that is going to mean in practice, how you are going to enact that with your students. Okay, next slide, please. So, let's think about teaching, the first one of those 5 that I mentioned, decolonizing teaching. What is it? Let's start to think about what is it that we currently leave out of students' education in terms of their knowledge. So maybe this is a question we could start with in the discussion. What is it that you obviously think you need to think, okay, what do I include? But what is it that you don't include in your curriculum currently? What is it that's not in your curriculum? Because that may be something that you need to start to think about. How can we change pedagogies to be more inclusive, more multilingual, multicultural? I mean, Indonesia is so diverse. You have so many different languages. You have so many different backgrounds, so many different cultures. It's probably the most rich melting pot on the globe, so rich in culture and diversity. And I know that there is that phrase, unity in diversity. So that's a really good starting point. But, I have heard, in 2024, English language is coming in to be mandatory. And I can see the positives of that. I really can. But I also worry and fear for what will happen to local languages, indigenous, Aboriginal languages across the archipelago. English, Bahasa, possibly Javanese, because Java, let's face it, Java is, the center, and what happens in Java spills over across your many, many, many islands. But again, it's something that we need to think about. So we can do this in small ways. So Maria and I can do it in very, very small ways, in the way that we conduct our research with Buega, Buintan. For example, we can be thinking, how can we, just in a very small way, conduct our research better in order to be more inclusive. One of the things we can do is publish in Indonesian, in our Indonesian journals. So we want to do that. We really want to do that because we can then have much greater reach with some of the ideas that we share. So we do need to revisit curricula and think about, whose stories are being marginalized. Maria has been working on developing a research agenda around folklore and folk tales that she may talk to you about, I'm not sure. But that's also one way that you can safeguard some of your own stories rather than the sort of the Disney stories that are being given to us from other places, that sort of Disneyfication, if you like. So we can revisit the curricula to think about bringing students' cultures, languages, gender, and different perspectives into the classroom. So this is again one way we can do it. And I put down here promote respect. And I think there are two things here. One is we can say we promote respect, but do we really do it? Now I'm thinking now not of you, I'm thinking now of UOG and my own case in the UK, and I wonder whether sometimes it's quite tokenistic, and so I think it's incumbent on all of us to make it more than just tokenistic, to really make that change. And the way we can do that is through a respect, a sort of humility in the limits of our own understanding and our own knowledge. So that's one way we can do it. And of course, decolonizing assessment by allowing different forms of knowledge and expression beyond just testing against standards. So next slide, please. I'm sure you're all aware of PISA, the Programme for International Student Assessment. So their dominance, these northern standards, if you like, their dominance permeates education internationally through those comparisons. We have Malaysia at the top, which must be really annoying for you in Indonesia. But are those comparisons, or Singapore, of course, and maths and so on. So, but are they really helpful? Is this the way that we should be doing, measuring ourselves against those northern standards? You may decide that yes, that's what we want to do, but I think the Freedom Curriculum is a real opportunity to think in a different way. Also domestically, through the reproduction of injustice and oppression within education systems, and to the detriment of other knowledge systems and the peoples who embody them. So I've just put this up. Rather than enabling legitimate concerns to become dominant, that which dominates has become legitimated. So I guess a good example would be in the area of sustainability, environmentalism, activism, and we talk about environmental activists, don't we, as if they are somehow sort of separated, but they're actually, if we turn that around, in the media we talk about them as environmental activists, but actually aren't they just people within their own communities trying to protect their own communities? So next slide, please. So I think in the UK, decolonizing the curriculum became something that came onto our radars following in South Africa in 2015 and the Roads Must Fall campaign, and thinking about the different statues that we have that promote people. In Bristol, for example, we have Colston and Colston Hall, who Bristol's wealth was built on the back of the slave trade. So was it, and I think people started to find it offensive each day to walk past these statues. So it's brought things to the fore, and sometimes there are moments in history when it is something that sort of spreads a bit like something going viral when you're watching on social media, and somebody does something and then it spreads. And I think that this campaign back in South Africa in 2015 has really helped to spark a new way of of thinking. Academic research, predominance of English language journals. Who owns the knowledge and the production of knowledge? So I'm an editor of a journal called Journal of Family Studies, and as an associate editor, I often see papers that come in from non-English language speaking countries, and sometimes the language is quite clunky, and but is that any reason not to have the article in the journal just because it's not, maybe the person that wrote it speaks 5 languages and the person who's reviewing it speaks 1 language only. So there's a whole mindset, I think, that needs thinking about. Okay, next slide, please. And I'll just be a few more minutes, then I'll hand over to Bu Maria. So this is one of my great heroes. I don't know if any of you know him, Paulo Freire, and he was a Brazilian educational philosopher. And he wrote about the pedagogy of the oppressed, theatre of the oppressed, and yeah, education is often sort of idolized, isn't it, as this transformative system that's, it's going to address social inequalities, it can promote democracy. We hold education up as the highest standard of helping our societies move forward. But it is also a site of social reproduction, and one that upholds particular canons, if not a single canon of knowledge, to the exclusion of others. So decolonizing education requires interrogating those historical legacies and dominant forms of knowledge. I mean, here it would be, what's still left over from the, with that relationship with the Dutch and so on. So do they continue to favor certain groups, countries, cultures, and if so, how? So yeah, I put Paulo Freire up because if you are going to look into this, if you feel that it's something that you need to be a part of, then I would suggest Paulo Freire's work is a great place to start with. And his promotion of teaching critical literacies to enable communities to problematize and question their societies, to read the world as well as the word, allowing for transformation of education, peoples and societies. And I must, on that note, just say that 2 days ago I went to Langeran, and I was so overwhelmed and impressed with what those young people are doing there. It's young people, it's not the older people, it's the young people who are really building that community, that education. This is what Paulo Freire is talking about. It's those communities. And I'm really hoping that next year I can come back with Maria and our students, and we can go and spend a couple of days there working with them in that community, because it's a very powerful, it's sending a very powerful message, and I think it embodies a lot of what we, education for transformation. So I think I'm nearly at the last slide. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to go through these, but, well, yes, you can maybe think about these for the discussion, but I want those 5 interrelated areas I talked about. One of them is research. How do we conduct our research? How do we work with our students to prioritize certain research over others? It's about nurturing meaningful and egalitarian partnerships. Again, this is something that I hope that each of us can do in our individual way, and maybe by doing that, it will spill over to generate a culture. Next slide, please. Institutions, behaviors, the way we behave, and these are things that we're thinking about now at UOG, and what processes might change those behaviors. Sorry, next slide, please. Even estates, what with the names that we call our buildings, those types of things that we all need to be thinking about. What sort of investments do we make? I won't ask about Mohammedia, I don't know, but I know, in the UK, the universities make investments. And what do we need to be thinking about? Are those wise investments? Are they investments that are, good investments, not just for the return, but are they investments that will bring benefit to society. And then the last one, I think. And then reparations, because there is, this is an ongoing discussion, but there are a lot of talk about reparations, particularly in the context of climate change, and those countries that have been most affected by climate change, whereas most of the climate change has been caused by not by those countries. So there are issues around reparations. Again, if I'm thinking about small things that we could be doing, maybe at our institution at UOG, one of them could be just enabling more scholarships from different countries. It might seem tokenistic, but you know that they are maybe small things, but they can you know, change, bring about lots of change. So I think last slide. Yeah, looking to the future, research collaborations, our virtual exchange that we're doing with the early childhood and inclusive education. So these are, I think it's this type of collaboration that really will be what brings about a decolonizing of the curriculum. It's those sorts of opportunities that help us to examine and think about what it means to decolonize the curriculum. So I hope that has been helpful. I hope that I haven't, it is a sensitive topic for many people. So I hope I haven't offended anybody in my discussion. And I think now I shall hand over to Bu Maria. Okay, thank you. Oh, Pak Irfan.
Thank you very much for the really well articulated about the decolonizing curriculum. So before moving on to the next speaker, Bu Maria, we will have a question and answer session, please. So, but before that, it is interesting to know that the decolonizing curriculum is actually also related with our curriculum Merdeka, since we are not just having the implementation of curriculum Merdeka in our schools. So I think not only lecturers but teachers in the school, they also need to know about this topic. But before I open the discussion session, I think I will have the privilege to ask first question. Is that okay, Pak Alex? Right. So, like you mentioned earlier about the, for example, the use of PISA as a way to measure, as a way to put some countries in the list based on their student performance in limited areas, like in reading, mathematics, and science only. So, as we all know, PISA square does not cover other non-academic potentials of the students, or even only limited section of the academic potentials of the students itself. So my question would be like, what do you think about maybe like the PISA score, but this is more broad in terms of the like accreditation. So, you know, like the institution, we need to have accreditation both from our government, but it is also not mandatory maybe, but encouraged to have international accreditation, which sometimes we realize that the parameters are not really relevant with what we do here, with what we actually have here. But anyway, if we submit our report for the accreditation, so like they will measure us based on their parameters, not what we have here. So how about that, Alex?
Yeah, I think, Pak Irfan, thank you so much for your question. And I think to a large extent, you've answered your own question, because I do agree that we need to broaden out the scope of the PISA and the different metrics that are being used. Yeah, in terms of accreditation and relevance as well. So I think it's going to be important to take stock and use your own baseline from which to, I think you're in a very powerful position, actually, within Muhammadiyah. You are in a very powerful position because of, you have, 173 universities across Indonesia. So as an institution, I believe you have a big, you can have a big voice and a big influence with the Ministry of Education, Research, Culture and Technology, if I've got that in the right order. But yeah. But I do completely agree with you that the metrics need to be broadened out and they need to be made relevant to people's own national contexts.
Maybe just one more thing. Sorry, can I just, because this is related with my previous question. For example, in publication, we have the journal index. Like initially, for us as a lecturers, we need to publish our research, our papers in Scopus index journals. But now we have our own internal index. Yes, we call it Sinta. So maybe that's one of the example of the decolonizing curriculum, especially in the higher education.
Yeah, Pak Afan, you're absolutely right. I think Sinta is a really, really helpful initiative. I think I was absolutely astonished when I heard how many journals you publish at UAD. Is it 32? I mean, that just seems incredible. That the amount of journals, or maybe them across the board, but yeah. It's a lot. So I think we should also be thinking to publish in Sinta, right, in Sinta-based journals. I also think that if a piece of research is good, people will read it. Whatever journal it's in. I would like to think that anyway.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Pak Alex. Now I will give the first opportunity to, I think Pak Budairi already raised his hand a few minutes ago.
Thank you. My name is Ahmad Budairi, Alex. I'm not a prolific writer, but I have produced number of research articles, and one of the articles which is probably worth mentioning here is entitled Linguistic Imperialism, Tapping into Discursive Strategies Enacted in ELT textbooks. Just to show how much I'm very interested in the topic here that you have. Okay, that's allow me to say a few things just to put my questions into a context. And I'd like to start by making a reference to, perhaps you are familiar with as well, to a post-colonial major figure in post-colonial theory, Gayatri Spivak. All right. So Spivak's put forward the term, the so-called epistemic violence, which is essentially rooted in the idea that colonialism, and as is today, it's neocolonialism, so works through the politics of inclusion and exclusion, and in other words, it's rooted to the legitimation and then sanctions, of particular possible ways of knowing, possible ways of seeking knowledge, in favor of certain ways of knowing, right, as privileged by the, let's say, the self. So if we put this idea of colonialism in terms of the relationship between the self and the other, so I would say that decolonizing of its works through this kind of mechanism. Okay, so I have two questions which would come much later, so bear with me. Sorry. Just because I've got a lot of ideas here just at the back of my mind, but hopefully I'm articulate enough to describe it to you. And I honestly believe that I can see the potentials of us to work together, to collaborate, and to seek any possibilities of opening up, and seeking alternative ways of thinking, and which aligns with, of course, our agenda today. So, this epistemic violence can be in my context here. So I will give you two examples just to illustrate, how this epistemic violence works. The first example is in the case of, I think you touch on this topic, in the case of international English testing. So international tests, because I'm coming from this English education background. So during my tenure as the head of Ahmad Dahlan Language Center, I had numerous offers, about, English language test. So I may, mention names, but maybe not. So they send me emails offering English language tests. And I thought at that time that, well, I don't need this for my students, for university students, for Ahmad Dahlan students. I thought, at one point, actually, they contacted me through WhatsApp, and then I, raised these ethical, questions to them. If you are really concerned, if you really want to demonstrate your ethical responsibility, you don't just come to me and offering tests. See? So offering tests, because what I need is, we are here to discuss, right? Yeah, okay. I said at the beginning, bear with me. So otherwise, okay. Is that okay? Yeah. Ibu Maria? Okay. Yeah, this is the politics of, constraint, what? Okay. So I just want to show it to you how this language testing system. So, because there have been, different types of testing. So I told this representative from, so can I mention the name? The British embassy, consul. And I challenged him, all right, if you have something that shows your ethical responsibility, which is to share with me how to teach my students, Ahmad Dahlan University students, in a way which is meaningful, more engaging, and in a way that sustain their motivation over a longer period of time, in a way which can transcend spatial and temporal constraint, then I will be very pleased to come along with you. And it's amazing, it's surprising, because following this short conversation on WhatsApp, they were very determined to invite me to more and more, and at one point, they even, arranged a dedicated webinar with me, along with a few others. And I just want to make a point here how, the discourse of this international test has been produced, circulated, consumed and naturalized in Indonesia or perhaps in other countries as well. I think it's a very commonplace practice or common phenomena. That in many cases we are not conscious of what is going on, because I subscribe to Penny Cook's, for example, idea of linguistic imperialisms. Yeah, so the neoliberal, the politic economy which goes hand in hand with, ELT industry. So I truly believe in that. So my question is that some universities here, like Gajah Mada, Universitas Muhammadiyah Malang, have actually demonstrated agency. They take initiatives, for example, to design English test, which is meant to measure, anyone's English competence, although with still a very limited scope in terms of purposes. Because the market has been taken up by IELTS, TOEFL, ATP, and so on and so forth. So they try to challenge this and offer the counter discourse to the dominant discourse of international English testing. So my question would be for you is actually, although these two institutions have tried to exercise agency in the context of this language testing, then at the end of the day, they end up not being considered as legitimate. That's the problem. And so they don't have this symbolic power. So for example, to bring a more impact and implications to challenge this dominant discourse. My question is...
Sorry, excuse me. We are almost out of time for Bu Maria. So I think we already get your question. Is that okay if Pak Alex try to answer it now?
Yeah, just one point.
Just make it very short, please.
Of course, I don't expect Alex to give me a solution, but I like to ask for your opinion. How this, sometimes the initiative, the agency here, then at the end of the day, because it's located in a very, structure of power, and then, because we talk about decolonizing, this university, the individual behind this, have this awareness and try to decolonize it, but then perhaps coming short of expectation. Thank you.
No, I thank you. That's because that's a really very important. It's an important question. You've given a really good analogy in terms of IELTS, TOEFL, and so on, and how they've cornered the market in a certain type of testing. I think you're absolutely right, and it does need questioning. I think that your colleagues were very brave in developing their own form of English language testing. I think that we do need to keep trying things out. I do, and not just accepting that, for example, that Booking.com is the only place to go and get a hotel from, or that IELTS is the only way that we accept. I think it's important to continue to pursue those different ways of maybe setting up something new around English language testing, and then just maybe build up some critical mass, getting more people to use it, and eventually they're going to have to, listen. But things often start small, but we do have agency, and we do need to use it. And again, going back to Campus Merdeka, and I think that, there are opportunities here to think about things like that, English language testing. And thank you so much for your question. It's important to be heard fully as well, because that's it, the whole point of epistemic violence, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so I shall hand over back to, and happy to talk afterwards.
Yes, Bu Maria, yeah, the time is yours now.
Okay,
We still have-
so may I please have my first slide? My title slide, thank you. Okay, so let's keep it there for a minute. So, to start, Selamat siang, everyone. Okay. Saya sangat senang berada di sini, tetapi pada saat yang sama sangat sedih karena ini adalah hari resmi terakhir kami di UAD. Ya, selama kunjungan kami, saya telah menikmati waktu saya di Yogyakarta dan berharap untuk melanjutkan kolaborasi kami serta kembali ke Yogyakarta suatu hari nanti. Okay. So it is such an honor to be here today to discuss a very crucial topic for the future of Indonesian education, the decolonization of higher education. And today, I would like to outline, just a little bit, because Pa Alex has already spoken about this at length. So, what decolonization means, why it's essential, and how we can apply it to your higher education system, drawing on some global experiences and examples. Okay, so let's begin by defining decolonization. So, slide 2, dua, please. Okay, so decolonization traditionally, as you've heard from Pa Alex, refers to the efforts of natives in Asia, Africa, and Latin America to regain control from colonial powers. And of course, here in Indonesia, you had the Dutch. However, recently, it has evolved to focus on decolonizing our minds and challenging the Eurocentric knowledge which was imposed during colonization. And this process also involves dismantling Western hegemonic paradigms and centering indigenous knowledge. So, some people who are unfamiliar with both the post-colonial and also decolonial perspectives might wonder, why should we decolonize the curriculum if the Western perspective is more advanced? Well, this viewpoint is flawed, okay, in various ways. So firstly, it assumes that the West is more civilized and developed than their colonies, reinforcing the idea of what is known as white superiority. And second, it believes that knowledge is universal. So it can be generalized. It is applicable to all world regions, which is actually not the case. And third, it ignores, or at worst, subordinates the knowledge of colonized peoples, favoring, as Pa Alex has already said, white, male, Western, capitalist, and also heterosexual worldviews. So, next slide, please. So why decolonize higher education? Well, in truth, Western universities have played a significant role in colonialism by providing ethical and intellectual justifications for oppression. So higher education institutions in what is known as the Global South. So for example, in Indonesia, in my own country, which is the Philippines, Okay, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Africa, the list goes on. So these institutions, which may have been modeled after Western systems, actually perpetuate this dominance. And therefore, decolonizing higher education is absolutely crucial to fostering a more inclusive and accurate representation of knowledge. So, next slide, please. I'm not going to dwell too much on this slide because Pa Alex has already mentioned roads must fall, for example. But, you know, certainly we can think back at least to as far back as 2015, when in South Africa, in Cape Town to be more precise, you had the Roads Must Fall campaign. Now, we are not exempt in the UK from similar campaigns because UK student movements also include, why is my curriculum white? Also, why isn't my lecturer black? And campaigns such as this have highlighted both institutional and cultural issues within universities, urging for a decolonized curriculum. Next slide, please. So, let's talk about Indonesia now. So, in Indonesia, decolonizing the curriculum is actually critical. Now, I have included this painting here. You will see that it depicts the arrest of Prince Diponegoro. And this is a painting by the Javanese artist Raden Saleh. And I'm using it to help illustrate my point for decolonizing the curriculum in HEIs in Indonesia. So, Prince Diponegoro was the eldest son of Yogyakarta ruler Sultan Hamengkubuwono III. And in spite of defeat by the Dutch colonialists in the Holy War, which was known as the Java War, yeah? Are you all familiar with this? Good, okay. In 1830, you will hopefully see here, although this is such a small painting, it's a very famous one though, that actually Prince Diponegoro remained steadfast and unyielding. And the painter, Raden Saleh, wanted to emphasize Diponegoro's bravery, dignity, and also heroism. And Saleh also introduced a distraught woman at Diponegoro's feet, perhaps to symbolize the motherland, Indonesia Raya, grieving at his defeat. So this painting by Saleh remains actually the most complex symbolism of the early struggle for independence in Java. And Saleh chose to use what we refer to as reverse symbolism by depicting Diponegoro as the star of his painting, as opposed to the Dutch general de Koock. However, even today, misconceptions about Western superiority and the universality of Western knowledge undermine indigenous perspectives. And of further importance to note is that decolonization actually aligns with the Indonesian, so your constitution's condemnation of colonialism and the Ministry of Education and Culture's Campus Merdeka initiative, which should aim to free students from Eurocentric knowledge. Okay, next slide, please. So let's think now about approaches to decolonization. This does require a holistic approach. So Pa Alex mentioned earlier, think about your classroom materials. Also, think about the broader higher education system. Okay, so I'm really sorry, Pa, I didn't manage to capture your name earlier, but I think what you're referring to is something perhaps, even if you have taken the brave step of attempting to decolonize assessment materials, you are actually still fighting against the system that is colonialist by nature. I'm very sorry to say. However, this does not mean excluding Western perspectives, but rather we need to balance them, okay? Balance them with knowledge from marginalized groups. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But as Pa Alex has also said, it's really important to distinguish decolonization from diversity. So, terima kasih banyak. Yeah, absolutely. But the former, or decolonization, seeks to dismantle power structures in knowledge production and dissemination. And that's what I'm referring to, Pa, in your case. All right? So, let's go to the next slide. Right. So, Western development discourses. Let me provide you with an example. So an example of the dominance of Western knowledge is the concept of development, actually. And many global South countries have followed Western development models, which sadly have often proved detrimental. And these are models that are based on, again, Western superiority, which have disregarded local or indigenous needs, but also have exacerbated or made worse global inequalities. So, decolonizing the curriculum will involve recognizing and addressing these issues. Next slide, please. As a case study, I would like to mention the Merauke Integrated Food and Energy Estate, or the MIFFE project in West Papua. And this is one project that exemplifies the problems with Eurocentric development. This project has disrupted indigenous lifestyles. Pa Irfan, I'm not sure if you are familiar with this particular project, but essentially, because I know that you are in biology, what it did was it disrupted the way that they actually farm, and it forced them to adopt modern agricultural practices. And what happened was they ended up growing crops, which they were not used to, and this actually forced the population into malnutrition. Such examples underscore the need to center indigenous knowledge into our education system. So if biologists and agriculturalists and educationalists had taken the stance that actually indigenous farming was more important than Western approaches, I dare say that these issues would not have surfaced in the case of the Merauke Integrated Food and Energy Estate project. Next slide, please. So, let me now talk about some strategies, or at least begin to talk about them. So, to decolonize Indonesia's higher education curriculum, we must revisit and revise knowledge in each field of study. Not just education, but all fields. And I can see that we have lecturers here from biology, physics, English language, education, etc. So I have a slide that will address all of you. And by encouraging indigenous and marginalized perspectives, we can create a more inclusive and also representative educational environment. So, to illustrate the unequal or basically inequitable sharing of power, I hope you recognize this painting. Do you recognize who's being depicted in this painting? And I think this should be a question for all the women in the audience. Do you know who this is? It's Kalon Arang. Okay? Kalon Arang. Yes, yes, Kalon Arang. Yes. So, I have heard many colleagues here, you know, oh, where's Buega? She's gone out, okay? But I heard it from Buega first. So let's talk about the grapevine, okay? So not just Buega, but other colleagues as well mentioned how much Indonesia is actually, okay, menfolk, you have to listen to this, a very patriarchal society. Yeah? Would you agree, women in the audience? Yeah? Okay. So, now, from a feminist point of view, because I am one and my husband is there. So, so Pa Kevin is here, he can vouch for this. Okay. Whenever people seek to vindicate God, to answer why a good God permits evil, women are at fault, okay? Yeah, and you only have to look to Indonesian literature. Because like Eve, there is actually a version of let's blame the woman, okay, from 12th century Balinese and Javanese folklore. So Kalon Arang actually tells the story of an evil old woman who uses her magic to kill people, okay? However, she is a mother and always a mother. And when her daughter is done wrong to, she will always be a mother first. So, one thing that we can consider from this story is how one thing that is written can be used as evil or good, depending on the beholder. Thus, everything that we know, everything that we learn has two sides to it. But it is dependent upon us which side we choose to act upon. This is agency. Yeah? Okay. Next slide, please. Oh, you need to, okay, no, this is the right one. Okay. So, I have some strategies. I thought it was my reference list because as you will see, my glasses have gone down to the bottom of my nose, okay? So it's not my reference list. Actually, what I do have here are some examples which I would like to proffer to you. Okay, so for psychology, why not use, okay, because remember, this is about universities or HEIs. So for those folks here who might be from psychology, I don't think anyone is, but why not use indigenous psychology or psychology ulayat? Okay? We can also use qualitative research methods rather than or as well as quantitative methods which are based on Western norms. Again, just like what Pa mentioned here in relation to assessment methods. Counseling. Is there anyone here from counseling? Okay, well, how about we consider well-being from an indigenous or Mohammedan perspective, including the spiritual versus or including the chaironic, eudaimonic, or hedonic. Okay, Bu Intan, early childhood education, PAUD, okay, and primary education. Oh, I wish Bu Rihanna were here because I'm now going to mention ethno-parent. Ah, there she is. Ethno-parenting. Yeah. Bu Rihanna versus attachment theory. And also Baumrinn's parenting styles. Also, what about folktales to impart local knowledge and culture rather than Disneyfication? Also, we need to continue to consider how Pangkasila is integrated within all domains of education. That is really a task for those of you who are teaching teachers to implement Merdeka Belajar. Okay? Right. English literature, using an array of Indonesian folktales and poetry to contrast UK folktales and poetry, so like Kalonarang, and also other tales of women who were sacrificed to the patriarchy. I have a book by my bedside table at the moment, and I'm reading about a princess who said yes to 10 different suitors because she knew that if she said yes to just one of them, it would ruin the peace in Indonesia. And in the end, she actually threw herself into the sea and she killed herself. And there are at least 10 other stories or a dozen other stories in that book about women who have sacrificed, okay? So ladies in the audience, you have a very special role here in relation to decolonizing the curriculum, okay? And I'll back you because I'm a feminist, okay? Right, actually Pa Alex is honorary feminist. Okay? Right. Biology, Pa Irfan, this one's for you. Biodiversity of local species, sustainable use of rainforests, supporting indigenous agriculture, like I mentioned earlier. Mathematics, oh, where's Bu Nofi and also where's Professor Hardy? I wish they were here. Because what about character education, which teaches values in mathematics such as resilience, problem solving, and budgeting? I have heard that here in Indonesia, online loans are a very big problem for young people and also for families. Okay, physics, so Payudi, constellations, which reflect Indonesian mythology. Rewrite those names, Payudi, I know you can. Family law, okay, this is a really important one. Considering ways to influence more equitable policies and legislation. Okay, because I know that when men and women divorce, the law is very heavily skewed in favor of men. Business and tourism, the importance of regional diversity, talents, and materials for unique selling points, also the importance of geographical location and local culture. It is going to be vitally important to encourage talk for learning and discourse in the classroom, and to move away from a teaching style that is transmissionist or teacher-led towards co-construction of the curriculum and learning together. Okay, next slide, please. So, I've only got one slide left, and this is my conclusion. In conclusion, Indonesia's higher education curriculum is absolutely vital for fostering a more inclusive and accurate representation of knowledge. You are at the dawn of a new beginning with both Campus Merdeka and Merdeka Belajar. Seize the day. Small steps can absolutely lead to bigger things, and value your own knowledge. Okay? This archipelago is so rich in the diversity of knowledge that it possesses. However, you must advocate for yourselves. Do not look to the West. Your own government and also institutions such as UAD must support you, must support these efforts, overcoming barriers to decolonization. Together, all of you can create new ways of knowing. So new knowledge and a curriculum that truly reflects your local, diverse, and rich cultural heritage. Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you very much. It was a really interesting and complete explanation, I guess, regarding the decolonizing curriculum. And I know that we are getting more interested, but unfortunately, time constraints. So we still might have 1 or 2 questions from the floor. Anybody would like to ask a question, please? Just make sure you... Anyone? Ah, yes, Pak Yudi.
Thank you, Pa Alex and Bu Maria. You mentioned a lot about the Merdeka Belajar and curriculum Merdeka, but as I also product of the such as the Merdeka things, but in the U.S. Curriculum, such like liberal arts studies. I don't know that you're familiar with that kind of term, but that's the liberal. It means that also similar as the freedom or the Merdeka Belajar. So in several articles that I read, there is a opinion about the Merdeka Belajar curriculum Merdeka is looks like a resemble of the liberal art studies, and also the Nadim is also product of the liberal studies, like the Brown University, and I'm from the Wesleyan University, similar liberal art studies thing. So you mentioned about the, okay, it's like now look for ourselves, not for the Western. And as I said, that Merdeka Belajar is like a resemble of the US style, liberal studies. So it's like I want to come, trying to get the things like in the same picture of, okay, this is the way that you mentioned about the decolonizing, but in the same time, it could borrow the US style. So please enlighten me. Thank you.
So are you trying to say that with a liberal arts curriculum, it's not impossible to actually decolonize the curriculum? Or are you saying that we must look to the arts for answers?
Yeah, because probably this is my first lecture about the decolonizing. Still to get an idea, because you mentioned about not looking for the Western style, the Western perspective, but looks like the Merdeka Belajar is also borrow the Western perspective. So it's like it's not in the same.
I see what you mean. There's a conflict there.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think there isn't really a conflict. I think it's actually pretty compatible, okay? Because actually, if you think about it, Merdeka Belajar is your freedom cry, okay? What it does say, however, is that you have the right to choose, okay? Now, I think the right to choose is inherent in any call to action, or at least it should be. And I think that with this, you have to be able to have the bravery and the courage as well to start from some place. And this does confuse a lot of people. So very often in the UK, when I'm speaking to my own students who are trying to support children or other individuals that they work with, I advise them it would be good to start with a strength-based approach. Because when you start with a strength-based approach, that means that you know the subject area and you know what you can do well. And you should actually be flaunting it. You know, there's an American saying, if you have it, flaunt it. Okay? Now, what this means is that you should also be mindful of your national identity. This is so important so that does not get lost in this process of change, because change can be so difficult for everyone, okay? And I think one thing that I've seen here during this trip is that there seems to be some confusion about where to start, which is why I would implore you or encourage you to look at the things within your own cultural and within your own culture and within your own ways of knowing as a starting point, and to actually amplify your voices in that regard, okay? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. If you want to use it as part of comparative studies, you can, because I can appreciate that change takes a long time sometimes. How old is Merdeka Balajar? Well, it was introduced in 2000. It's now 2004. But actually, so one of my heroes in relation to flow theory, and I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's from Czechoslovakia, and he is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, okay? And he says that it takes around 10 years to become a master at something. So you're not even halfway there as a nation, but you have to start somewhere and take small steps and advocate for yourselves, yeah, in order to be able to effect change in a way that is not only meaningful for you, but in a way that is also sustainable. Because unfortunately, Merdeka Balajar is not going to go away. You're stuck with it, guys, okay? Yeah. You're stuck with it for the time being while Nadim Makarim is in power and while your government also supports this curriculum. So I would say start taking those small steps, start being brave. So, yeah, start being brave and actually start advocating for yourselves, because it's only in that way that change is possible. Okay, thank you. Terima kasih. Chat? Is that okay? Yeah. Would it be okay to have a lovely chat afterwards? Yeah.
Yes.
And we can put the world to rights. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And no more, no worries, Bu Maria,
You
Pak Alex.
can take my husband's word for it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Change is hard, but you know what? I've also met some teachers who are actually now getting rid of the passive, thinking of more active. So I think that change is taking place, yeah. Yeah. Cognitivism,
That's a good.
Okay, all right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I'll leave you with this saying then, okay, to rebut that. Okay? The seat of learning is not in the cognitive. It's in the emotive. Okay? So have a think of that and we can discuss that later. Thank you. Terima
Awesome. Let's
kasih.
give applause one more time to our great speakers today. So I think we have come to an end of our educator forums, the 8 educator forums today, and I would like to thank you very much for you to attend this event, and particularly to our speakers today, Pak Alex and Bu Maria. Can I just give you a pantun to close this session, but this time in English. I don't know if I can say this, but you know, pantun is a rhyme words. So hopefully, I guess so. Cakep, right. All right, so I'll start the pantun. This is also decolonizing our education. So using pantun, the local wisdom of Indonesia in international event. All right, so hopefully this relevant. Going to US just to buy apple juice. Then I think it's better to take my kids, go to a ranch. To Pak Alex, Bu Maria, and all of us, thank you very much. All right, one more time. I hope this is not the end of our future collaboration between UAD, Pak Dekan always said UAD, Universitas APDW. APDW means the one and only. In Yogyakarta, maybe in Indonesia, because there is no other UAD. Or there is actually in Jakarta, Economic Higher School of UAD. So, I believe in the next session or in the next forum, I think, we can have much more like this. Even we can do it online actually. So if you're already back to UK, we can still do it sometimes with other topics maybe. And we can also continue our discussion later. So again, thank you very much, and I will close this session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Returning back to MC, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Irfan. Once again, let's give a big applause to Pak Alex, Bu Maria, and also Pak Irfan. Pak Budairi, we would like to invite you to stay here or to your seat, please. Okay, thank you, Bapak. You will continue your discussion with Pak Alex and also Bu Maria. After this, inshallah, there will be another events for Pak Alex and also Bu Maria. Thank you. Well, I'm sure everyone already enlightened by Pak Alex and also Bu Maria's explication, especially regarding to the decolonizing curriculum. And I'm sure it's very important. It's very, very, beneficial and significant for all of us. We already heard about the significance, the challenges, and also the transformative potential that Bu Maria already shared to all of us. Even she given us, a detailed explanation what kind of study or topic that we could use to decolonize our curriculum. And also, I hope this is beneficial also for UAD as part of Muhammadiyah universities around Indonesia. Thank you very much once again. And thank you for your participation today. I would like also to share a pantun, but it is in bahasa Indonesia, not in English, Pak Alex. But I put your names in my pantun. Oke. Siap, cakep nggih? Waduh, siap. Oh, di awal sudah cakep, terima kasih. Ke pasar patok beli rambutan. Jangan lupa beli bakpia. Terima kasih Pak Alex dan Bu Maria. FKIP tercinta telah belajar dan semoga membawa berkah. Amin. Satu lagi nih untuk kita semua, nggih. Ini juga ceritanya pantun sambil berdoa. Iya, boleh nggih? Pak Ustadz, Pak Prof, Pak Ustadz, wah komplit ini kita punya wadek, nggih. Baik, jalan-jalan putar Jogja. Di Malioboro beli lumpia Samijaya. Sudah pernah ke Samijaya? Oh enak, belum? Besok ya Pak kita jalan, oke. Terima kasih atas kehadiran Bapak Ibu semuanya. Semoga kita selalu sehat, kaya raya, bahagia, dan aman sentosa. Amin. Thank you very much for your participation today, Bapak Ibu. I hope you found our session is insightful and inspiring. I would like to invite Pak Alex and also Bu Maria and also our Vice Dean. We would like to share a special token appreciation for both of you. Please. Monggo Pak Wadek. Ayo fotonya. Mas-mas dokumentasi pekerjaan belum usai Mas. Masih sampai nanti maghrib, nggih. Iya dong. Di FKIP ini kalau bisa dari habis subuh sampai habis isya gitu. Nggih. Ya, 1, 2 senyumnya, cheers. Iya, terima kasih banyak. Pak, jempolnya Pak Wadek, nggih. Iya pakai jempol Pak. Nggih, matur suwun. Oke Bu Maria please. Thank you Pak Alex. Iya. Iya, agak geser kemana Mas? Kanan kiri oke? Oke, semuanya pas. Iya. 1, 2, 3. Bu Maria itu sudah sangat internalize gitu. Iya. Yes. Oke, terima kasih Bapak. Bu Maria, Pak Alex, please stay still here with the token appreciation and Pak Wadek in the middle. Iya, monggo Bapak di tengah. Oke, also with Bu Hillary and also Pak Kevin. Yeah, this is unforgettable moments. You will keep all these moments back to UK. Okay, please Pak Kevin. Okay, all teams are invited. All the participants today are invited. Our Vice Dean don't want to be alone. Ya, he doesn't want to be alone. Gak pengen sendiri Pak Wadek ini, nggih. Yuk, ibu-ibu yuk menemani Pak Wadek, bapak-bapak. Iya, siap nggih. Mas, dokumentasinya yang ciamik, ayo. Nggih. Ayo Mbak. Iya. Oh ya, saya tak di depan sini aja. Yang nemenin aku siapa? Sini ya. Berapa nih di sini ada nggak? Gimana? Kurang ke kiri, kurang ke kanan? Oh, kurang ke tengah. Iya Pak, double ya Pak bayarannya. Ini Bu Ika, ayo Bu Ika. Sini dong. Ya. Ayo, cepet lari, masih bisa loh, masih bisa loh. Baik Bapak Ibu, 1, 2, oh belum. Mbak Nanda mana Mbak Nanda, Mbak Safa, dan Mas lainnya, yuk sekalian. 1, 2, 3. Oke baik. Oke enggak, oh jempolnya mana jempolnya? Ya WUS, FKIP WUS. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu semuanya. Iya, Pak Alex thank you very much, Bu Maria Magandang Umapo, Maraming Selamat po. I keep the best for last Bu Maria. Ya, baik sekali lagi Bapak Ibu terima kasih atas kehadirannya, terima kasih atas waktunya. Sudah azan asar,